But there's no easy answer to Chinese EVs. The rest of the world is getting the advantage of these cheaper forms of transportation because BYD Seagull, even with the 25% tariff, would still only be $12,500 in the U.S. It'd be a huge bargain, and it would sell like hotcakes.
People are coming out and saying, they got these cheap Chinese vehicles overseas. Why can't we have them here in the United States? And, this is all the government's fault, whatever their reasons are.
Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock market. I'm here today with founder and editor Bill Moore.
Hey,
how's it going, Bill?
Great, thank you very much.
So my topic today comes from The Atlantic, and this is saying there's no easy answer to Chinese EVs. And, the easiest answer is let's tariff the crap out of them and keep them out of the United States. But is that fair to the consumer? The rest of the world is getting the advantage of these cheaper forms of transportation, although the United States, in all fairness, we have higher safety standards. And those safety standards probably tack on $5,000 to $10,000 a car. And, I don't know that the Chinese vehicles are made to the same standards, or else you'd think, because even with the BYD Seagull, even with the 25% tariff, it'd still only be $12,500 in the U.S. It'd be a huge bargain, and it would sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, I'd like to encourage people to read that Atlantic article, because it really lays out the issues and why, I see all the time, and probably readers of the stream also see it. People are coming out and saying, they got these cheap Chinese vehicles overseas. Why can't we have them here in the United States? And, this is all the government's fault, whatever their reasons are. So this is an interesting article because he kind of explains, yes, they do make them available for less. How much Chinese government support. There's an article came out recently where Chinese government basically gave BYD $1 billion to take over the EV market. So you've got that kind of pressure there. And so what should the government do? You want to say, well, if we open all that up, then all those, we're going to be repeating the, what's his name? The guy that says the sucking sound, where all the jobs are, flowing out of Detroit and out of the Rust Belt, and they're going overseas, Mexico, or even worse, over to China. Ross Perot, remember the great Ross Perot and the great sucking sound?
We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25, that's assuming you've been in business for a long time, you've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
So do we want that to happen? Do you want to be gainfully employing and, making the life better of Chinese factory worker in Shanghai or Hubei or wherever, right? Or do you want to deal with your own people who are, needing to earn a living and pay for their kids to go to school and all the things that we have? So what's the answer? So in the article, he points out that this is kind of a real conundrum for the current administration, because they want to advance electric vehicles. They wouldn't be doing all these incentives and programs, building out vast 500,000 charging stations and making all these incentives available for people. So they want that to happen, but at the same time, the market's saying, well, the things are too expensive. Why can't we get something out of China that's so? How do you balance that? And he makes the comment that there's short-term thinking, which is what led to the great sucking sound, and there's the longer-term thinking about what's the end result? What do we want? We want people to have cheaper cars, or we want people to have cleaner air?
Well, it's kind of a conundrum for the current administration, because on the one hand, they're trying to,
or whoever follows.
Yeah, or whoever follows, Because you got the one hand, we're trying to balance out carbon emissions and bringing, cheap cars to the United States, which in theory, if you run in cheap cars, it would lower inflation because people are spending less money on stuff, right? But the problem is that all of a sudden is fighting the UAW and is causing trouble with the American automakers.
Yeah, you can't put that all on the UAW. I mean, there are all of the suppliers down the road. So if all those suppliers end up being Chinese suppliers for those cars, then you're not only just affecting the million or whatever it is, UAW workers that actually assemble the cars, you're affecting all of the workers in the chain below them that's supplying all those parts. So it's a bigger issue than just, the UAW coming in there and saying, yeah, we need to be making, $50 an hour instead of 33 or, whatever they were making. So it's a tough one. Knowing who I am, I tend to lean towards let's think strategically and long term rather than just this quick short term fix. So that's, again, if you get a chance, check out the article. And
this is an interesting piece. So last year, 8 million EVs were sold in China compared with maybe 1.4 million in the U.S. because we see that it's anywhere from 1.1 to 1.4 million. But the Chinese market has been driven mostly by BYD and then by Tesla after that. But in the greater scheme of things in car manufacturing, $1 billion really isn't a lot of money.
Well, yeah, but still, that's nothing to sneeze at because, again, you're talking about the Chinese workers and the Chinese economy. So $1 billion, I don't know, how does $1 billion in productivity on the Chinese side compare to $1 billion in productivity on the U.S. side? I'm suspecting that probably goes a little further on the Chinese side.
Well, ever since BYD released the Seagull initially, and this hasn't been but like a few months ago, the Chinese currencies dropped in value by about 10%. And so that dropped the price of the Seagull down below $10,000 US.
Yeah, the Chinese economy is having some serious issues. I was watching a video yesterday where a gentleman was showing what's happening with the imports and what's happening with the exports. And in the last year or so, they've been struggling. So we'll see how that works.
Well, their economy depends on them exporting. They can't import to us because they keep devaluing the currency, which makes all the imported goods too expensive.
Right. Well, and in imports, we're also talking about the raw materials they need to assemble into things to sell back to us. So.
Right. No, I get it. But it's the Chinese government, their first reaction is always to devalue their currency, to increase employment, and to expand exports. And it's one of those things like when we talk about the Chinese stocks on Friday, it's like, nah, we're not getting into that because they're manipulating the economy and all these other things too much. I mean, we're not saying the United States doesn't do some manipulation. I mean, if inflation goes up, we reduce the money supply. We do different things to try to control stuff.
Well, that's the job of the Fed, right?
Right. And that's what they're supposed to do. And so when we get into these, economic situations, though, with China, it never seems like they're playing fair. And while, Bill and I are in the EV space, we love seeing what the Chinese are coming up with. We know what's going on. The United States is only 5% of the planet. The other 95% of the planet can buy the Chinese EVs. It's interesting just to see what's going on out there. You brought up Ross Perot. It's like, think about how different our country would be right now if Perot had gotten elected and we'd never exported all those jobs. It'd be quite a bit of a different worldwide situation with manufacturing. China may never have gotten to be the powerhouse they are today.
Hi, I'm David with EV World News. If you like this video, then please press the like button. If you like the content and would like to see more videos on electric vehicles, then please hit the subscribe button. If you have some feedback for us, please let us know in the comments. Have a great day.